Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Vamily Show, Season 3, Episode 2. Got it, 2 out of 3 today. You're right in the middle of Bracha Goetz, and she's my guest right now. She's written, is it 38 children's books that you've written? And you also have dealt with addiction. We talked about your book last time. I'm trying to remember the name of it. Is it Out of the Garbage Can?
Very close, very close.
Okay.
Searching for God in the garbage. Good.
Okay.
That's
Okay.
it.
And I was talking to you a little bit before, and I kind of wanted to go over with you, and you probably wrote it a little bit in the book, but how did you go from searching for God in there to finding God somewhere else, and then dealing with your addictions?
Yes. Well, right. The title of the book, Searching for God in the Garbage, is that I was searching in the garbage for God because I knew, somehow I knew, that God had been thrown away. I just knew it. I mean, like, I knew that there were things of value that had just been tossed and I'd never gotten them. You know, that's why I was searching. And and thank God I found them. Thank God I found what was valuable in life.
Right.
And I I I I feel that my food addictions, and I feel that all addictions have to do with this. We have what we are hungry souls, and some souls are more exposed than others, and those become addicts. That's what I believe. The ones that are very aware of their hunger, we
Mm-hmm.
become addicts because we are genuinely hungry. If we don't get what we need, it makes sense that we're hungry. It makes sense that we're addicts. It makes sense that whenever we experience pleasure, we want it to be lasting because that's what our souls want. Our souls are here. We're spiritual beings and we want lasting pleasure. That's what we're after. And so,
So you can
like,
try to find it in people or food or drugs or whatever. You just try to find that and want to keep that same feeling no matter what. And so that
exactly.
leads you to make bad choices, at least a lot of bad choices in my cases that I've made. So what are some mechanisms that you use now to keep yourself from going back to your old addictions?
Those pleasures are the comforts. They give us comfort. But what I learned is, this was taught to me by this great rabbi who's no longer with us in this world. But these comforts are the opposite of pleasure. It's they keep us from experiencing true pleasure in life. They numb us so we may not feel the pain. Pain and discomfort can be a part of pleasure. We try to avoid them through the comfort, through the immediate pleasures, that the fleeting pleasures that go away. So the thing is, why do we overeat? Why do we keep taking drugs? To get the pleasure lasting. When we experience it, it's a real pleasure. It's a real pleasure. This pleasure was designed, the pleasure of an orange, of a nice juicy orange, was designed to not only uplift our bodies, but also our souls.
Right.
We're spiritual beings. That's why these things were created. But we get stuck on them, and we get stuck on addictive things like the food that's not designed by the ultimate designer is actually designed to be addictive. The processed food is designed to keep us
All
eating
the
more and more.
sugars and everything that are in it. And then
Exactly. Yeah.
that affects I got a super chat coming in here, $10 super chat. Have a great day. Thank you very much for that. And that kind of stuff there too, not just food, but like good things like that release neurochemicals in your brain too. So if you can, and this is something that I just learned from a therapist, if you can retrain that your brain, the neuroplasticity of your brain to get addicted to those good things instead of the bad things. So get addicted to good food, get addicted to doing exercise in a good way, not in a bad way, but um, then you can get better. And is that kind of what goes through in your book?
Yes, but I don't call those addictions. To me, an addiction to me is the compulsive use of something
Okay.
despite its harmful consequence. When
Okay.
we when we compulsively use something, despite the harmful consequence it's going to have on us, that's when we're stuck in an addiction. That's when we're imprisoned in our addictions. But when we're enjoying the abundance of pleasures in this world, that's what we're supposed to be doing. So we're not stuck. That's the whole idea of becoming unstuck, so that we can recognize there's an abundance of pleasure. The reason that we get stuck in addictions is a sense of scarcity. We don't have enough pleasure in
Okay.
our lives. So
So
let's
there's only
add.
that one or two places you can get it instead of lots of places.
Exactly. We feel like there's a lack of joy in our life, so I better stick to this piece of cake. In fact, I better eat the whole cake, And
Yeah.
then afterwards, afterwards you don't feel, your soul definitely doesn't feel uplifted. And how do you
No.
know that? Because you don't feel gratitude. Gratitude is the sign of whether it's an addiction or it's a genuine pleasure.
Right.
That's really the litmus test. If you feel gratitude, then it's not an addiction. You are really feeling a connect. Gratitude is recognizing that it came from a good source, and you feel gratitude to the source. So it's like, it's changing from an attitude of course, I should be getting this, to source. There's a source for all this goodness. And and addicts, what addicts, what a person feels is an alienation, a separation, and the addictions are usually done in secret. I mean, sometimes in public, but usually they're secretive, and all kinds of bizarre behaviors go with it. You're not left with a feeling of gratitude. So when you, like, I to, this is amazing stuff. Like, everything, like I'm saying, is not from me. This is like ancient mystical wisdom. Like, this is like instructions for living that actually came with the world. Like, people say, you know, we were given life but no instructions. We really were given instructions. That's the surprise. And that's what
Right.
I didn't know that. And that's why my soul was starving, because I didn't know that there actually were guidelines, mystical guidelines that go along with our spiritual beings. Because essentially we're spiritual beings. We're just enclosed in bodies, in physical bodies. We came from a world of souls in order to interact in this world of physicality and raise it up, and also have take the sparks from the physicality and raise it up. So it raises us, we raise it. That's how we interact in this world. And 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 what I discovered is that the purpose of life is to experience the greatest pleasure possible. That's the amazing part. And when people are brought up, like in their childhoods, with
Hmm.
abuse or neglect, then they don't feel that they're here to experience the greatest pleasure possible. They feel unworthy. Their lives
Right.
are filled with self-criticism, filled with putting ourselves down. And so how do we change that? Really, through experiencing gratitude, because when we experience gratitude, that fills us with worthiness. Um, I, I, in other words, I'm worthy to be breathing now. I'm worthy to have body parts that are working. I'm
Right.
worthy to not have all these illnesses. Whatever parts of me are healthy, I'm worthy. So any moment that we can feel gratitude for an orange or an apple, I mean, this uplifts our spirit. And when we exercise our gratitude muscles, they get stronger and stronger. And we can, when we fill our lives with gratitude, that's how we there's no longer a need for the addictions because our lives become filled with joy.
Right. And is that kind of the stuff that you go into trying in the children's books that you have, trying to instill like little pieces of that in each book?
Exactly. Children, you can like engrave on their soul from the very beginning. My goal was to write the books that I wished I had as a child, books that books that explain that I was a spiritual being, so that I could go through life in a whole different way and experience joy throughout life, and share that joy with other people. When it gets it gets our souls shining when we can get other souls to shine too.
Right, right. And that's something that I've come to learn is I like helping other people that are, you know, on YouTube or whatever with whatever I can, whether it's how I do my stuff or helping them get people to go see their YouTube channel, all that kind of stuff. Um, like I got a few friends in here, Quebec Homestead, Boondocking with Boomer, Ridge Life, who's in here, who I enjoy. I enjoy listening to him on Sunday mornings. He does a little service that he has on his channel. Forever Best Friend, Linda M, Barefoot in Alaska. They're all in here listening. And so that's one of the things recently that I learned that I enjoy is doing this and having people come and either ask questions or just talking to people like you. And you've been on the show before, so when you wrote me, I was like, oh yeah, I remember her. And so what is something that you, over doing all these interviews, that you've taken out of it for you? Or are you thinking about writing another book about your experiences doing that kind of stuff?
I am loving sharing this. I just am loving sharing this this wisdom that people are not familiar with, because I know how it changed my life. So I'm loving sharing it with other people. Like, so one of the things I love to share is about the pleasure ladder. The most basic level are all the physical pleasures like we discussed. And if we don't know that there's more than that, we get stuck on a certain physical pleasure. So recognizing first that there's an abundance of physical pleasures, and at all the levels on the pleasure ladder, the 5 levels correspond to the 5 levels of the human soul. So on the lowest level of the human soul is the part of our soul that connects to our body. So when we uplift our body, this was designed to uplift our body and our souls. Like these good foods, they're delicious and nutritious, as opposed to like the processed stuff, which could be delicious, but it doesn't help us. So
Right.
Yeah.
And the process stuff, I kind of want to go into that with you, because I mean that's what a lot of what I have right now, because it's cheaper than good food, which is one thing. To really, I mean, really, when you think about it, how has buying something that's been processed cheaper than buying an actual fruit, right? But this thing of Pop-Tarts that I have is cheaper sometimes than getting a thing of strawberries, right? And so when we talk about processed foods, they make them not only cheaply, right? They're trying to save on money. That's what businesses do, but they want you to keep eating them. So they go into developing different sugars, different chemicals that use that same stuff that you're talking about, but almost on an overdrive level. And so is there besides food, which we talked about, is there also, I want to say, metaphysical stuff, stuff that's not food, stuff that you watch or you intake that way? Is there stuff that you do that way that is the same thing that's not good for your soul as well?
Beautiful. Every real pleasure that was designed for us, people can figure out ways to make them in a counterfeit way. They're called counterfeit pleasures. So like they mimic they mimic an orange flavor instead of eating a real orange. And so I was going to say the second level up on the pleasure ladder is love. Counterfeit love is infatuation.
A
It's
crush
not.
in high school, that type of thing.
Yeah, and all kinds of lust that is not. I mean, pornography. That's another addiction. It's not based on real love. Is appreciating the virtues of another, the qualities, the good qualities about someone else. That's love. And again, it's not dependent on anybody else loving you. We can bring love into our lives at any moment by appreciating someone else. It fills us with a warm emotional feeling to focus on the virtues of another. That's how we can bring love into our lives at any moment. Like, each of these 5 levels of pleasure are not dependent on anybody. We can bring them into our lives at any moment, focusing on our breath, focusing on something physical, music. Music is a wonderful natural pleasure. Nature, being in nature, movement, dance, yoga, all these things are natural ways to experience pleasure and feel gratitude for the way our bodies are working. And then on the second level, we are connecting outward more with other beings, appreciating them. That brings love into our life. The next level up is meaning. When we do something good and positive in the world, each level up is an even greater and more lasting pleasure. What's higher than meaning is creativity. When we are doing something creative, like a
Right.
podcast, yeah,
Or
we,
writing books, or like you
yeah.
do, or anything like that. And I want to ask you, on since we're at the creativity level, um, how did you just first decide that it was going to be books that you were going to write, and maybe not like scripts for shows or something like that? What made it books? Is it something that you just enjoyed, like you were talking about as a kid, you wanted those books, but is it something that you wrestled over with how you were going to use your creativity?
Well, my favorite things to read are children's books. I'm not a big reader. I don't really like to read big books a lot, which people think is funny since I went to Harvard, but I
Right. Well, you
really
probably read a lot of long books going to Harvard, enough
not.
for a lifetime.
I figured out ways not to do that. I would read the beginning and the end. I got the main point. I'm not a big reader. I read very slowly, so I couldn't read all the material they were giving us, way too much. I didn't get past children's books. That's kind of my level. I like the basics. I like, what are
Right.
the basics in life? So that's my
Get
favorite.
to the story. Basically, don't drag it out with all the drama they put in the adult books. Just get to the point. She goes to the store. She gets the doll. She ends up happy at the end. What's the problem? Why do we have to talk about everything else in between?
Yes, I love
Right.
simplify. So yeah, that it comes natural to me. That's why I can talk about this topic again and again, and I, 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 I
You
don't
get
get
more out
tired.
of it each time.
Exactly. I
Right.
love it. I just love the basics. In fact, when I first started learning about my heritage in this school, they kind of moved me up to an advanced class, and I just sneak back into the beginner's class because that's where I want to stay. I just always want to stay there, going over the basics, seeing them more and more clearly. I love that.
And it also helps when you have those basics and you keep looking at them. It helps when you go up further in the process. And so would seeing or achieving success with your creativity, would that be the next level, or is that still on the creativity level?
Well, success, to me, success, like like in the Talmud and the ancient mystical writings, it says, who is rich? Uh, those who are happy with what they have. That, to me, that's wealth.
Right.
That's success. Success is when your life is filled with joy. Success is not being famous or powerful, or like, the rich people that you see. It's when your whole life feels rich and you just feel so much gratitude.
Right.
That that's all I want. Yeah, that's.
Gratitude is the right attitude.
Yes, beautiful. Exactly. So, in fact, one of my children's books is called I Want to Be Famous. I have this here. I'm showing you this. I Want to Be Famous is about a boy. That's all he wants is fame. So he
Right.
gets it because, someone just takes a YouTube video of him doing something ridiculous and he becomes famous overnight. And then he loses it. They find someone better. And until he realizes he's miserable, then he realizes if you get the spotlight shining from within, you get your soul shining, you
Yeah.
nourish your soul. That's it. That's all you need. You don't need the spotlights.
Nope.
And that's it. That's what
Just
it's
the
about.
fact, just the fact that I get to talk to people like you, it doesn't matter how many people are here or listen to it, because I'm ultimately looking at it as a legacy thing too, that people will always be able to go back and listen and hear and get, like we're talking right now for the second time, but get something else out of it maybe that they didn't get the first time they listened to it. And is there any of your books that if you could pull it back out and rewrite it and put it back out, are there any of those ones that you would redo?
Redo. I don't know,
Like
like,
maybe add more detail or put in some more characters?
oh yeah. Well, my memoir is the only book I wrote for adults, The Searching for God in the Garbage. And I didn't really write it because I told you I don't like long things. I like short.
Right.
But it's a compilation of my diaries, journals, letters. I put it all together so you could see the thread of how does a person develop an addiction and then how do you heal from an addiction? And so it just when I discovered these things again years later, I saw the thread going through it. And and now from giving these talks about the book, I've learned even more stuff that I wish I could put in the book. You know what I
We have
mean?
to make
Like,
a revised edition, I guess.
yeah.
What was the moment, um, or was there a few moments where you finally woke up and said, I've got an issue, I need help with it, and I've got to figure out how to solve this?
Yeah. I mean, laying in the street outside a bar, um,
I've been there.
having guys drive me home that I knew I could get killed. They were so drunk and,
Yeah.
just ending up with all these people that were, we were all a mess, basically.
Yeah.
What could I say, Um, and then the whole scene with, searching for food in the garbage pails, that's part of the book. These are like lowest points. And there were people that told me, you have such a wonderful life now. Why would you share these horrible parts of your life? Because if I don't explain how bad things were, how painful things got,
It's
then you
not, it won't, you won't understand how great it is now.
exactly. It,
And that's why I share what I share too. Same exact reason. And is there anybody that you knew from back then that sees you now and they've made a change in their life?
there are some there are some sad cases actually of people that didn't make it through, um,
Right.
that I've been in touch with. I do have some friends from childhood too that knew me before and after, and yeah, that's kind of awesome. So it's awesome for them too to see the transformation. What can happen?
And Linda Adams says it helps by telling others your story too. And hopefully, I think you probably feel this way too, to keep people from even getting to that point in the first place.
Exactly, because I mean, granted, we can use our pain and transform it into something good in the world for sure. But also, people can accomplish a lot without going through that and learning
Yeah.
from other stories,
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. Yeah.
Yeah. It,
And is there, when you're sitting down to write your books, and I thought about writing books before, like a fiction book, and I had trouble the time that I did it. I had trouble keeping track of like the different characters and their backstories and all that kind of stuff. So is there some like master log that you keep of which character is which, so that you can reference it when you're doing your books, or are you that concerned with continuity in them?
You're going to get a kick out of this. Somebody interviewed me. They were going to go into the field of writing, and they interviewed me, and they said, "So tell me, how do you do character development?" I said, "Well, I don't really have that many characters. It's like I don't really develop my characters. These are really short books." And they
Right.
said, "Okay, okay, what about the plot?" I said, "Well, I don't really have a plot."
Yeah,
And they go,
yeah, the
"Well,
plots in
they
your
go,
stories is just like the one little story.
they go, so what is your book? You don't have plot, you don't have characters, what's left, you know?" I said, "My book is all about the message. That's really what it is.
Right.
It's just like a message in a book, you know? That's my only purpose. And I just create the book around the message. So it's not like I'm really into writing, and I don't really give talks about writing. I just want to get my messages out in the world.
Right.
They're not my messages. They're really messages from source, and I just love spreading the messages. Yeah.
Now, is there any messages that you've um, either wrote down and it wasn't going to work out for a children's book, or some that you want to do but you can't quite figure out the right way to do it yet?
Great question. There is a book that I've been trying to write for 20 years, and I still don't know how to write it. It's a book in the voice of the self-destructive impulse, the impulse that tells us to eat the whole chocolate cake, or to get stoned, or whatever it is. It's the voice is doing the talking, and it's telling you what not to do in order to override the voice. It gets very confusing, and every publisher I sent it to said, "This is not just still not working," and I know it's not working, and I'm not sure how to do it. I want to I want to express that idea, but it gets so kind of nefarious. It's like kind of gets into evil too much. I think I'm better off sticking with the bright side and
Right.
approaching it that way. Although I wanted to try to write in that voice, I don't seem to be able to do it.
Well, the one voice that I can think of that's a children's voice that's about that is the Cookie Monster on Sesame Street. I mean, that's that self-destructive. I'm going to eat all the cookies because they're in front of me, type thing.
Very good. Excellent. Very, very good.
And um, are there any of your either characters or any of your books that's like your baby, that you love that one no matter what? You could pick it up and read it. That could be the only book you ever written and you'd be happy.
It's true. There are a few like that, actually. One of them is Hashem's Candy Store. And that's what this is about. How, like, just showing all the wonders of how the fruit becomes bright and beautiful. We're ripe when they're ready. They become so bright and beautiful, and
Mm-hmm.
they're not like that until then. And
Right.
then, like, it shows all this kind of stuff, like the potato and the nut. They're not brightly colored.
Right.
Why? Because we're not supposed to bite into it. We're not supposed to bite into the nut. We have to use a nutcracker first, and we have to cook the potato. So, like, there is so much wisdom in nature. And I love to write books, like also Remarkable Park is about how nature talks to us and gives us messages. There is so much wisdom out there in our natural world, because really this world was designed for our pleasure, and we've gone so off track. We get stuck on certain addictions, or we just become miserable. But really, the world, we're hijacking it. Really, this world was designed for our pleasure. And if we can get back to that through gratitude is what gets us from one rung to the next.
Right.
And that's what fills our life with joy. I read recently, this is amazing, that if you chew more, you'll eat less, because also, like, you digest it better. But I realized, I practiced it. The book said that when you're eating something, you're already while you're still chewing something, you're already giving yourself the next spoonful of it when you haven't even finished chewing what's in your mouth. So I realized that's like the anti-mindfulness. You're
Wow.
not you're not enjoying what you have. We are already trying to put in the next thing. We're
Instead
not
of
feeling
enjoying every bite for what it is. Wow.
exactly. So like and what gratitude can we be experiencing for the pleasure that's in our mouth right now if we're already trying to put another one in, you know? And that's how we live our lives. That's like a microcosm of how we're living. We're not enjoying what we have and we're trying to put the next thing in already, you
Right.
know?
Right. And I mean, that really hits me because especially like if you go eat out, think of how much money you spend eating out, and then you eat just like at home or whatever, and you're eating, fast. So that's something that I'm going to work on then, is just enjoying everything that I eat. I mean, that's the simple thing that you can do because you got to do it to live anyway. So why not enjoy what you're eating?
Exactly. And I read in the book, which I never realized, the sensation of taste just lasts a few seconds when it's in your mouth, and that's it. And so that's why people overeat. They just want to keep that sensation of
Back to
pleasure.
what we started at the start, where that's what they're stuck on, is that one or two sensations.
Exactly. Meanwhile, they're not even enjoying what they have. We're not enjoying what we have. It's all about that. That's how we become really wealthy in life,
Yeah.
enjoying all the blessings that we have this very moment.
Well, and even the wealthiest man in the world, if it's his time to go, there's no amount of money in the world he can spend to get another breath.
Exactly. Steve.
So
Yep.
even your breath is precious when you think about it.
And the pandemic taught us all that. The pandemic, I see it as a big push forward in our spiritual evolution because suddenly so many things we took for granted we lost all
Right,
of a
like
sudden.
just getting together with other people. I mean, that's for me. That's the biggest one, where you used to just be able to go out and, oh, there's a concert or there's this, and you can just go and do it, and it's no big deal. And that's gone. It makes you really appreciate human interaction more than before.
Exactly. We're all changed people. We have all spiritually evolved. We got a huge push forward toward gratitude.
Yep, yep, I believe so. And if you didn't, then I think you got to reevaluate the situation, because everybody's been in it together. Whatever you think about it, we've all been in it together. So um, it's something that I know, and I've told this to people. Now you're gonna have something for, how at least my grandparents, they talk about the depression and stuff like that, because that's how old my grandparents were. Now you're gonna have something to talk to your grandkids about and say, you don't know what it was like. All we had was our phones. We couldn't even go outside. We had to wear masks everywhere, and you guys are just running around on the playground like it's no big deal. So you kind of get one of those moments out of it, and you'll look back on it fondly, instead of like, we're still kind of in it now, but you'll look back on it fondly and go, I kind of learned something out of that situation. At least I hope people do, because if you stop learning in life, then what's the point?
Exactly. Exactly. We're all changed people. And we all got affected at once, which is
Hmm.
amazing. Just amazing. We couldn't even
Especially in
imagine.
today's world.
Yes, how could that happen? It happened.
Yeah,
It really happened. We're
yeah,
we're all
we're
better
all,
off.
yeah.
Yes.
And I think it makes everybody, at least I hope it does, makes everybody realize that stuff isn't what's important. Like, it's not how many things you have, and I've heard it said before by numerous people. So don't think I'm saying this myself, but there's no U-Haul behind the hearse. So so it doesn't matter really. There's no you there. You can't take it with you. And I think at least I've started to see a lot of celebrities and people that have a lot of money are going, hey, I have all this money, and I could actually help a lot of people. And instead, I spent it on a big mansion, or I spent it on a bunch of cars, or whatever. And so that for me is really inspiring to see. And not just that, but businesses too have started to be like, hey, let's help other people out. And so, and they're starting to see that even if they charge more for their products or services or whatever they do, the fact that they're doing good means people are more willing to use their business than somebody else's. And so that's really, really neat to see. And I think at least I hope that people take, books like yours that are for kids, and the link is in the description if you guys want to look up the books and get some for your kids or your grandkids or whoever around, nieces, nephews, cousins, whatever it is. And then I'm sure your memoirs in that same Amazon link, you can probably find it there as well. But I hope people take that and use it as a chance to teach your kids some good messages, because they're the ones that are coming up next. And so if we can teach them, especially the ones that are going to remember this, how to get through it and how to get through tough times right now, they're going to be a lot better served the rest of their life, because they're going to go, oh, I've been through a hard time before. I've been through a hard time where I couldn't even see my friends. I'll be all right.
Exactly. We have learned to appreciate breath, how valuable it is to breathe. We all took that for granted. Life, I lost friends this year, life, we don't take that for granted. People around my age that are no longer people I used to call every week. And so, hugs. Hugs
Right.
is something that just
That's
stopped.
huge.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
huge. And shaking hands and all that kind of stuff. And I've had I'm one of the people that always would shake somebody's hand, and so I still do it by habit. And some people shake my hand, and I'm not to the point where I'm going to be afraid of something. If I'm going to get sick, I'm going to get sick, and if it's off of a handshake, well, I mean, come on. At that point, what am I supposed to do? I'm obviously I'll probably get sick off of something else if I'm going to get sick off of shaking somebody's hand. So, um, is there any message that you want people to take away today, like that you ultimately learned through life or through writing the books, that you think is really important for people to know?
Yeah. One is that we're spiritual beings. This is something that we can forget all day long. We have to keep remembering we're here on a spiritual journey. And I love this line. We're not here to see through each other. We're here to see each other through. We're all here to
Wow.
help each other
Wow. I
through.
like that. I like that line. Not here to see each other, but see each other through. Wow. Wow. And that's really important, especially now. And I'm sorry to hear the people that you lost, and I've lost a lot of people in my life in the past, and I know it's a hard thing to go through. But the fact that you're still doing the things that you're doing, and you're still writing stories, and Koneman Studio, he says a lot of the kids' story are nice little happy stories, and there's nothing wrong with happy stories. And I don't think so either. I think I was really thinking about it. It's sad, that kids stop believing in Santa so early, and all that kind of stuff. And I almost think it's better to let kids have a little bit of magic a little bit longer in their lives. You know what I mean? And have them believe, because for me, it's almost helps them believe that there's something bigger than themselves. There's
Well,
something bigger out there.
that's the thing. Life is even better than magic. That's what I
Yeah.
want people to realize, how wondrous this world is. This real world. And yes, it's great to use our imaginations. Our imaginations actually help us.
Yeah.
We can use them. But this world is awesome. And the more we explore it, the more we'll realize that it's a discovery process, and being curious about it is so wonderful. So do all you can to nourish your soul. There's really an abundance of pleasure available to every person, even in prison. And addictions are prisons. We can get out of them by bringing gratitude into our lives.
That's I think that's where I want to leave it today, because I'm sure we're going to talk again, and I want to talk again. I want to have you on again. So if you want to come back in a couple months, and we'll talk some more. But I think leaving it at gratitude today, just being thankful for what you have, and hopefully in a couple months we'll be in a whole different situation. Things will be open up again, and we'll be talking about some other stuff. But gratitude, I think, is the key for today. And like I say, stop waiting for life to happen and make it happen. And Bracha here, she's made it happen for years. Went to Harvard, and that's what I think we always get sidetracked on the spirituality stuff. But I think next time I want to go into how you decided to go to school and all that kind of stuff, and what you went to school for. I think that would be really neat to go into. So I'm gonna play the credits and hang out with me for a minute, and I'll see you on the other side. And everybody else in here, I'll see you a little bit later this afternoon, because we got another one coming up. So
Thank you.
I'll play the credits and